AS Level Biology 9700, Paper 1, Variant 1, May, June 2026. This is the last video on this paper in which we are going to discuss question number 28 to 40. So question number 28 is the table lists some adaptations of plants which show correctly describe xerophytic adaptations. So the four adaptations are there, which are folded leaves, high stomatal density, thin waxy cuticle, increased lignin in vascular tissues. So here I would like to say that the folded leaves. So the folded leaves traps moist air, reducing water potential gradient and transpiration. So this is the characteristics of xerophytic plants, and you know the xerophytic plants are those which grow where the water is deficient. Now the high stomatal density. So xerophytics, xerophytes typically have reduced stomatal density or sunken stomatas to prevent excessive water loss. So this is not the. So this thin waxy cuticle. Xerophytes have a thick waxy cuticle to reduce circular transpiration. So again, increased lignin in vascular tissues provide structural support to withstand wilting tension under high dry conditions. So it is present. So according to this, we will go with the option C. So A, B, and D are not correct because the characteristics, I have mentioned the characteristics at the top of the table. Now, question number 29 and question number 29 is which combinations of changes for loading of sucrose into the phloem by companion cells is correct? So the first option is the water potential inside companion cells is increased because protons are actively transported from the companion cell cytoplasm into the cell wall. Here the protons are actively pumped out of the companion cell cytoplasm into the cell wall using ATP. So out of the companion, not from the companion cell. So this option is not correct. Again, the water potential inside the companion cell is increased because protons and sucrose are co-transported into the companion cell cytoplasm from the cell wall. Protons then diffuse back into the companion cells via co-transporter proteins, bringing sucrose into the cytoplasm against its concentration gradient. So this is not the correct option because the protons are diffused back into the companion cells. So the water potential inside the companion cells is decreased because protons are actively transported from the companion cell cytoplasm into the cell wall. The influx and concentration of sucrose decreases, makes more negative the water potential inside the companion cell cytoplasm. So again, this is the not correct. Sorry, it is 3, which is not correct. Now we are moving towards the D, and D is the water potential inside the companion cells is decreased because protons and sucrose are co-transported into the companion cell cytoplasm from the cell wall. So this is the correct option and it happens. So D is the correct answer. Question number 30 is there, and question number 30 is the diagram shows an experiment that took place in 1940 to revive an animal. Air is bubbled through the reservoir to oxygenate the blood. The tubes enter and leave the neck of the animal. So you can see the animal is there, and they have and the diagram representing. So here we have to find out which characteristic of mammalian circulation does the diagram represent. So reservoir is attached and air is entering through this, and you can see it is moving in this way. So first characteristic which has been shown over here is that is the closed system, closed circulatory system. So you can see the blood passes into the blood vessels. It moves. It is not open. So it is it is representing a closed system. Second, the heart. Heart is also there because it is pumping the blood. So the blood is moving uh, into the body. So you can see this can be the mechanical pump outside the body. So it is used to the blood through the tube. So heart is also there. Third is the double circulation. Double circulation, yes, you can see there is one circulation shows the oxygenated blood, the other shows the deoxygenated blood. So double circulation is there. So according to this, D is the correct option. A, B, and C are not the correct options. So question number 31 is, you can see question number 31. The graph shows the oxygen dissociation curve of hemoglobin for 8 species of mammals. So here you can see that they have shown the 8, so which can be concluded from the data shown in the graph. So first of all, we will go the curve positions. The larger mammals, for example, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. One is elephant, and second is horse, and then you can say 3 is for human, 4 is for sheep, fox, and cat, and then rat. So which can be concluded from the shown, you can see the hemoglobin of larger animals will combine with oxygen at a lower partial pressure of oxygen than that of the smaller mammals. So from the curve positions, you can see the larger mammals as elephant and horse are the largest are on the left side. So you can see this one and 2, they are on the left side, while smaller mammals as rat and mouse, it is on the right side. So we can say that while smaller are shifted to the right, so higher affinity binding at lower uh, position to a curve shifted to the left means hemoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen and reaches a high percentage saturation at a lower partial pressure of oxygen. For instance, 4 at 4 curve 1 is around 80% saturated, while curve 8 is around 20% saturation. You can see the 100% and 20% saturation. So according to this I would like to go with A, which is the correct option, because the hemoglobin of combines with oxygen attains saturation at a lower partial pressure of oxygen than that of the smaller animal. So this statement is correct. So statement B is not correct because A is correct. So B is larger mammals. The hemoglobin of larger mammals will release oxygen at a higher partial pressure of oxygen than that of the smaller mammals. Larger mammals hold on to oxygen more tightly at higher partial pressure of oxygen, and release it less steadily compared to smaller mammals at the same position. So, same partial pressure. So, this is not the correct. The metabolic activity of mammals is directly proportional to the ability of the hemoglobin to release oxygen. Again, this is not correct. And the size of the mammal is directly proportional to the ability of the hemoglobin to release oxygen. This is not correct. C and D are not correct because the graph only shows the partial pressure of oxygen, saturation, and mammal species size curve order. It does not provide direct quantitative metabolic rate values or provide direct opportunity to draw mathematical proportions by conclusions. So according to this, only A is the correct option. So next question number 32 is there. Which reactions would be affected by an inhibitor of carbonic anhydrase? So here the first equation which they have given us is carbon dioxide and hemoglobin joined together to make carbaminohemoglobin. And this is the not, it is not going with that because the this reaction occurs spontaneously without an enzyme. Now we are moving this the second reaction, carbon dioxide and water, by which the carbonic acid is produced. So I would like to say that this reaction takes place. Now the reaction 3, this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. So an inhibitor of carbonic anhydrase directly affects, slows this reaction. So these are the two reactions which are correct. So carbonic acid dissociates spontaneously into hydrogen ions and hydrogen carbonate ions without requiring an enzyme. So since all these uh, 2 and 3 are the correct equations, so according to this, D is the right answer. C are not correct. Question number 33. So you can see the question number 33 is there. The graph shows the pressure. The graph shows the pressure uh, in 3 parts of the heart during one cardiac cycle. So you can see over there during the left ventricle, it has been shown with the dotted lines, aorta with straight line, and left atrium by very small dots. So at 0.2, here, which part of the heart is responding to the excretory stimulus? So at 0.2 seconds, the graph shows a sharp increase. You can see this is a sharp increase in left ventricular pressure, marking the beginning of ventricular systole. So at this point in the cardiac cycle, the wave of excitation has traveled through the atrioventricular node and bundle of HIs, reaching the porcine tissues and ventricular muscle walls to stimulate ventricular contraction. So, according to this, I would like to say that C is the correct option because the you can see the porcine tissue and ventricular muscular walls helps to increase this ventricular pressure. So C is the correct answer, which is the left ventricle, which has higher pressure because the blood has to be pushed towards the other parts of the body. Now, question number 34 is, which statement correctly describes an event in the cardiac cycle that occurs immediately after atrial systole? So first wave of excitation passes through the sinoatrial node before spreading down to the base of the septum. Then second is electrical impulses pass from the muscles of the atria to the muscles of the ventricles to cause ventricular systole. Electrical impulses pass through conducting fibers which cause a delay before spreading to the Purkinje tissue. The semilunar pulse close to prevent the backward flow of blood. So here I would like to go with the C. With the C, that is the electrical impulses pass through conducting fibers which cause a delay before spreading to Purkinje tissue. This is the correct option. I would like to explain it. That is, immediately after atrial systole concludes, the electrical impulse arrives at the atrioventricular junction, the specialized conducting fiber. AV notes introduce a brief delay before transmitting the impulse down to the Purkinje tissue. So ensuring that the ventricles contact only after the atria have fully emptied their contents into them. So C is the correct option. All other are not correct. So question number 35 is, the photo micrograph shows a transverse section through a bronchus. So you can see the diagram which is labeled X and Y. So what is the function of the tissue X and Y? X represents the ciliated epithelium and Y represents smooth muscle. Connective tissues layer. So in this specific 97, you can see the paper bronchus section X is ciliated and whose function is to raft mucus and Y smooth muscles which constrict the airways to regulate airflow. So I am going raft mucus upward. So D is the correct option. So it Y constricts the airways. D is the correct option. It will not secrete mucus. This is mucus, the role of the mucus gland, remove pathogens from airways. Again, this is the mucus work of trap dust particle. Again, this is the function of the ciliated, this function of the mucus gland. So D is the in which the X role is the raft mucus upward and Y to constrict airways. Question number 36. So question number 36 has been shown over here. Gas exchange between air in the alveoli and blood in the capillary is dependent on the process of diffusion. So the rate of diffusion is proportional to surface area into concentration difference divided by distance over which diffusion occurs. What would result in the fastest rate of diffusion? So they have given the four options. The first option is the distance is doubled and the surface area is doubled. Surface area is doubled and the distance is doubled. So I would like to say rate of diffusion proportional is equal to 2 into 1. Concentration difference is 1 and this is, so it is equal to 1. The second is the concentration difference is halved. The and the surface area is doubled. So surface area is doubled and concentration difference is halved, which is 0.5, and it is divided by 1. So it is equal to 1. Zero. Then next is the distance is halved and the surface area is doubled. So it is 2 into 1 and 0.5 is equal to 4. And then D is the concentration difference is trebled. 1 is equal to 3. So the distance is halved and the surface area is doubled. So this is the correct option, which is C. So it is according to this. A, B, and D are not the correct options. Only C is, according to the formula, the correct option. Now question 37 is there. Question 37 is, which increases the risk of contracting tuberculosis? So I am going with 37. Drinking unpasteurized milk. So it can cause tuberculosis because the bacteria are there. It can be in the milk. So eating shellfish which has been contaminated with feces, this is not, you can say, playing any role into it. So I would like to say in this case, uh, eating contaminated shellfish causes disease like cholera, typhoid, not TB. Third, living in overcrowded conditions. Overcrowded conditions significantly increase airborne transmission of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is correct. So according to this, 1 and 3 are correct. So B is the correct option. So moving towards the next question, number 38. And question number 38 is, which statement which statement about how the antibiotic penicillin kills bacteria is correct? It prevents the synthesis of the cross links in the peptidoglycan membrane. It inhibits transcription, which prevents the synthesis of protein. Again, not correct. It slows down cell division by inhibiting replication of bacterial DNA. Again, no. It weakens the bacterial cell wall by inhibiting enzymes. Yes. it weakens because the penicillin act as an enzyme inhibitor. So I would like to say specifically inhibiting trans peptidase, glycoprotein peptidase. So preventing the formation of cross links between peptidoglycan chain. This weakens the bacterial cell wall, causing lysins to burst the cell under osmotic pressure. So according to this, I would like to say the D is the correct option. Now, question number 39 is there, and 39 is which type of cell is fused with myeloma cell in monoclonal antibody production? The first one is uh, beta lymphocytes, hybridoma, and T lymphocyte and stem cells. B lymphocyte. This is the correct option. Because in monoclonal antibody production, plasma cells or antibody producing B lymphocytes associated with the from an immune mammal are fused with cancer myeloma cells to form a hybridoma. Hybridoma formation takes place after that, so T lymphocytes do not play this role and stem cell as well. So only A is the correct option. Now, next question, question number 30 is so here I'm going with this. A pathogen has an antigens X and Y on its cell surface membrane that attach at human cell. So, which statement is correct for a vaccine against this pathogen? The vaccine must contain antigen X and Y to produce a secondary immune response in the person. This is not correct option. A vaccine to antigen Y must contain the pathogen with Y removed or modified to prevent causing disease. Again, not correct. The vaccine to antigen X must stimulate the production of antibodies and make the pathogen for destruction. So here I would like to say this is the correct option because a vaccine works by stimulating the immune system to produce antibodies against specific antigens like X or Y. So these antibodies can mark the pathogen for destruction. So the vaccine does not need to obtain both antigens, nor does it need to contain the whole pathogen, only the antigen that triggers a protective immune response. Option C correctly describes the principle for antigen X. Must explain the pathogen with X or Y. So surface stimulates immune system. So again, this is not correct option. Only C is the correct option. So it was all about this paper. And please like, share, and subscribe my channel to watch more videos on the May-June 2026 papers. Thanks for watching.